A drop. It was from within the stratospheric conditions of the intellectual conversations taking place among himself and others that the moisture formed, a tiny bead of sweat, known here solely as perspiration, burst forth from a small pore above his eyebrow on the mere mention of Buckley, and it began to roll stealthily with an inclination toward his nose. The embarrassment of the situation gave him pause, but he continued with his assessment of what was wrong with his once loved and powerful nation. If it were not for Korea and Vietnam, he said, with the utmost consternation, we would not be in this gutter on our stomach looking down and missing all the stars of hope within our constellation. And who knows what else beyond. He closed magnanimously with a line said something of the nature like, "Well, we once had hope, but now there's none. And what are you going to do about it?" But I was gone, no longer there to care or fear. Meanwhile, the tiny bead of sweat inched forward, down his nose, like a waterfall, over his lips, cascading downward upon the left satin lapel of his dinner jacket he had been forced to rent from the Chinese seamstress nearby. There were no stores in Tibet from which a purchase such as this could be made, so this simply had to be. The bead continued downward, curled right to the great slope of his belly, hung perilously for a moment, then plunged to the floor. The last word it heard before briefly splattering and regrouping into a small stream headed toward the door. "God damn it, I challenge you to prove me wrong." What a strange thing, the bead of sweat thought to herself while sliding down the incline of the floor and onward through the portland off the porch. It had not thought about the lengths which it could travel from such great height. After all, the stratospheric conditions of intellectual conversations was a high place, as high as any she had known. As she thought, she continued to roll, down the steps and through the yard, picking up the bits of dust and grit. As she rolled, she wobbled and turned and twisted. She knows. and thought to herself, the path of least resistance. She laughed and found herself enamored by the sights. Just dirt and bugs and plants, she sang, just dirt and bugs and plants. She rolled and rolled, and while gazing at caterpillar, found herself suddenly in flight. Down the mountainside she bumped and rolled, and to her surprise became increasingly much smaller through the smattering each arrival place. She was only halfway down before she realized this was her end. A resting place where no one could be heard among the dirt and bugs.